They can only have 1.5. I think they're only 2 children per person now. But they want those children to be men, so that they can work, not because they can love them, but they want them as workhorses. Back in Jesus' time and pre-Jesus time, the children were the property of their parents.
Right.
And wives were the property of their husbands.
Right.
And there were some exceptions in some societies, but generally speaking. So when it says, woman, obey your husband in the Lord. Well, obedience back then was, if I told you to jump off a cliff, then you go do it.
Yeah.
But if you translate that into 21st century terms, you guys get on the same page. And at the end of the day, if a decision up and have to be made and you do not agree, then you have to have an understanding as to who's going to make that call. And if your wife has a PhD in mathematics, and you're trying to figure out how to pay your taxes, and you made D's and F's and F all through school, I'm the man of this house, and I'm going to make this decision. No, my brother, you're the fool of the house. If we as men ever use or work with our wives to their fullest potential, we would have a tremendous jewel. Somehow testosterone and other things keeps us from doing that, because we want to pull up our britches and say that, you know, I'm the man of the house. Right or wrong, I'm the man of the house. Oh, but let me tell you something. When you see one another, when you really see one another, see, your spirit is going to tell you that, hey, why don't I ask my wife to fill this form out? She does this better than I do.
That's right.
But for some of us, that kind of admission is somehow scares us to death.
That's right.
When we love one another in the way that we're supposed to, remember that God said that all souls belong to me.
That's right, that's right.
That means that we need to love everybody. Every human on the face of this earth belongs to the Lord.
Yes, sir.
Every human.
That's right.
What about those suicide bombers? What about Muslim people?
Yep, they belong to them too.
What about gay people?
They do too.
Lord was tripping, wasn't he, when he talked about it? He didn't even mention that, did he? He probably forgot, just got from a nap. He probably forgot when he said
That's all right.
All souls belong to the Lord.
Yes, sir. All right.
Now, I didn't say that happens. But as people, you love them to life rather than to death. All people belong to God.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what their orientation is. But righteousness is righteousness regardless of who it is. So you could be doing wrong, but that still doesn't make you less of a person.
That's right.
But we have this feeling that everybody who's not an American, somehow they are less than.
That's right.
We are. There's so many arrogant civilizations down through the Bible and down through history who felt the same way, and now we don't even know their names, so we don't talk about them anymore. You all know that Greece is in all kinds of trouble today monetarily, and we know that those of us who speak from time to time, we use the words of Greek philosophers and all of the greats, and we incorporate them into things that we say. But without God, you can be up today and down tomorrow. Just a footnote in history.
That's right.
You don't know how much longer you're going to be here.
That's right.
Why don't you choose to love one another?
That's right.
Choose to truly love one another.
That's right.
And set aside the ego.
Mm-hmm.
The ego always wants to be right. Honey, you know, you forgot to do this today. Yeah, but I did it week before. You always complain about it. The ego don't want to be wrong. It's going to fight. Oh, the ego will fight.
That's right. Yeah.
if we can overcome that, what we also have to appreciate that even though you may have a PhD, you understand your neurosis, but you may still be powerless to change anything without some assistance from someone else.
Amen.
So you gotta be smart enough to understand that sometimes you have to sit down with someone else to process your thing. Because your mind tells you that I am not gonna give up, I don't care what he says, I don't care what she says, then I am gonna hold on to what I told her the first time. Because if I let her get away with this, then she'll call me on everything. So therefore, I'm not gonna give up. You may need someone to help you to process that. And they may be able to show you where you need to make some adjustments or where you might be wrong. Would you consider the fact that your husband may be right for once in his life?
Oh, wow.
For those of you who gamble, I mean, you can't even shoot crap 1,000 times without hitting. Would you consider that? But my mama grew to my house. My mama told my daddy what to do. My mama read everything. Now you're in your husband's house. You think you're your mama. Sometimes you get a letter back, some 5 or 6 years later, and you say he caught the morning train. And then we go back home and cry to mama and say, I don't know what happened. Forget most of the things that your parents taught you when you come from a broken relationship. You need to forget it because they couldn't teach you anything that you really needed to know. And if they got married 50 years ago, what was meant for them is a lie today. Because 50 years ago, in many of our households, all mom had to do was cook daddy's dinner, keep his food clean, and be with him every now and again. That was it. Whatever. Will that work for you today? No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh, no.
You need a stronger relationship. And you need that man to see you. So how can you take the model that your mother had and try to make that work in your own relationship? Yes, there's some positive things that you learn from your parents. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying in terms of how we relate to one another, then every situation is going to be different. Who do you love? Is there a deep care and concern for one another? Do you really respect one another? Or do you dominate each other? Do you see me? Do you truly see me? And when I'm weak and I feel bad, do you say to me, well, oh, every time I turn around, you got attitude. You have to know that person to know what they're going to happen. And then you can love them to life rather than to death.
Right.
Young people and old. Jesus said, I did not come that things are going to go terrible for you. But I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly.
Yes, sir.
In every wholesome way that you can. He said he came that you might have life.
Life.
Most of the things that will happen to you in your lifetime are self-inflicted wounds. I was born on Bank Street where they had drugs and they had this and they had that, and so therefore my life was terrible. No, son. Once you came to the understanding that you were living on the wrong street, then if that was an impediment to your growth, then move on another street.
That's right.
When I hear people on the south side of Chicago say, you know, this is my 4th son that got murdered in the street, and you still don't have enough sense to move?
Go ahead,
Come on, Doc.
That's good, Doc.
So, you are responsible for your own success.
Amen.
What did the good book say? I did not give you the gift of fear.
That's right.
He gave you courage. Then he said, I gave you the gift of love. And then I gave you the gift of power that you can rise up and do what you need to do. And the last thing he said, I gave you the gift of a sound mind.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
And if you have courage, power, love, and a sound mind, and you're going to blame somebody else for your failure to launch your own mind, you can't help where you've been. But you certainly can control where you're going.
That's right, that's right, that's right. Hallelujah.
It is good to learn from your history. But the reason that your windshield is a lot bigger than your rearview mirror is that you need to see where you're going, and your future is bigger and brighter than your past.
That's right, that's right, that's right, that's right.
So you need to see more. That's why you have that big windshield out front.
Come on,
The
doctor.
rearview mirror is just that little small thing, you see. Because it's necessary, but your future is even bigger. And lastly, my friends, I don't know how many of you had the opportunity to read a book called Einstein's Dreams. In this book, it talked about 3 separate situations. One was a fencer who was in the Olympics like we have going on now. And every day he got home from work, he put on his fencing uniform. Well, you see, 25 years earlier, he won a medal in the Olympics. He put that suit on every day he comes home. He starts fencing and whatnot, and about 15 to 20 minutes, and then he gets a little tired and pull it off and hang it up in the closet and go get some dinner. And then the next one was a man who wanted to tell his father that he loved him. His mother had already passed away. And he was never ever to say to his father that he loved him because his father had been difficult with him as a child. The mother was gone and the father came over to the son's house every evening to eat dinner. The son would say before his father got there that this is the day. I'm going to say it. I'm going to tell him. But he couldn't do it. Finally, his father passed away and he didn't have the opportunity. And then the third one was the woman who had a son who graduated from Stanford University, PhD economics, made all kinds of money. She was so happy about that. But finally, he made so much money, he started snorting that white stuff. 2 years later, didn't have a nickel to his name. And so he's outside of his mother's window, throwing up rocks at her window, trying to get her attention so that he could borrow $500. She wouldn't even turn around because she was at her desk writing a letter to the son that used to have millions. The problem was it was one and the same person. Well, she could not recognize what he had become. So she only focused on what he used to be. The moral of those 3 tales, that it doesn't matter whether it is joy or it is pain. You cannot make the past live in the present. So whatever has happened in your life that keeps you from truly loving, let it go.
Let it go.
For you cannot make the past live in the present. I want all of you to know that I love you to life. Every one of you worth saving. Every one of you have such rich moral and spiritual value. If you just knew what is within you that is trying to break out of you, if you could ever get on the same page, first with yourself,
Right.
and then secondly with the person you love. Now that you know how to define this love, and you know how to recognize when you don't have it, then you can get on the road to doing that which is perfect in God's sight. You see, he said a new commandment I give you. It really wasn't new, but that's just the way of a preacher saying it's parallel. So the preacher said the same thing over and over again, but maybe a little bit more interesting. Because he had said before, love ye one another.
That's right.
That's right.
Then he comes back, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, and all thy soul, and love thy neighbor as thyself.
That's right. That's right.
On these two hinge all the commandments and the law. In other words, if you don't love God and each other, then it doesn't matter if we go to church 1,000 days out of the week.
That's right.
Good.
It doesn't matter if you're on the deacon's board.
Nope.
It doesn't matter if you pastor a congregation.
That's right.
It doesn't matter if you have all the money in the world, because
That's
the
right.
richest person is he who gives much, not he who has much.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
What do you give when you love each other? You give of yourself.
That's right.
You give of your love, of your hugs, your compliment. In many of our cultures, we have been taught, we're not taught to compliment one another. You're in a marital relationship, you're in a physical relationship, but you can't tell your wife, baby, I love you, and that thing that you did the other day when you went out to that meeting, I've never seen anything like it. Because somehow it digs into me. I don't feel comfortable giving those kinds of compliments. Remember, from the day that you were conceived in your mother's womb, you have always been looking for a way to fuse yourself with another human being, and then later to the opposite sex. And you want to become one with that person. Not just in terms of having a contract that you're married, but in spirit and in mind and body. And then you love them enough to let them be themselves.
Yes, sir.
And not when you try to dominate them and make them be.
That's right. Can't do
If you got to keep your wife or your husband sitting beside you all of your life, you don't love them.
Nope.
You are just a little person who is fearful, who thinks somebody's going to run away from you, who think that if you're outside of my sight, you might do anything.
That's right, that's
I mean,
right.
and we have all of these things in our mind. So what if she does anything? She didn't love you to begin with.
That's right.
And so, do you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody who do not love you?
Yeah.
Great God. No,
But
sir.
we hate losing anything. We will dominate our wives for 20, 30 years, and as soon as someone else comes back who wants her, you know you don't want her, but you certainly don't want anybody else.
Nope. That's it. That's it.
Because you're not taking anything from me. All right, I'm done.